shares in UK-listed companies could soon be traded 24 hours a day.
The London Stock Exchange is reportedly accelerating a plan for round-the-clock trading to boost the appeal of the UK market and attract younger investors.
Well, Justin Urquhart-Stewart is an investment manager and business commentator, and he joins us now live in the studio. Justin, thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure. No longer a young investor, I'm afraid.
None of us are very young on this show. Now, it's worth saying, isn't it, that the LSE Group hasn't confirmed these reports.
No.
But 24-hour trading, is this the way you think we should be going?
Yeah, it's going to happen anyway, and frankly London should have been doing it before, because when London was the most international market in the world, not to say that it was the largest at all, but it had many more different countries actually operating through London, it could in effect operate 24 hours a day if they decided to automate themselves. They did go through Big Bang, which meant they didn't have, that was back in '86, they didn't have to have a trading floor anymore. The Americans quite correctly actually identified they had the trading floor in Wall Street, but that's theatre. No, that's made it look like a stock market. You don't expect to have silly gits in red braces merely for show. What you actually need, is decent technology allowing you to trade. And of course, actually, you look at Bitcoin or cryptos and currencies, they can all trade 24 hours if you want to. And bear in mind, most trading doesn't involve humans anymore. We're now dealing with automated trades. So if London don't do it, they should be left out. What London needs to do is, what future does it have? Because currently its owner, only about 15% of its revenue comes from trading equities. The rest of it's all about data. So what I'd love to see is London actually linking together with ASEAN nations, but also with Beijing as well. Hong Kong and Shanghai, link those markets, you'll have much more demand, a greater depth of liquidity, and much more international trading. And that will actually then fulfill the prime purpose of the stock exchange, which is to raise capital to grow businesses anywhere around the world. Make that simpler and cheaply and run it effectively. There's the future.
We're going to talk about AstraZeneca in a moment, but the CEO recently suggested that this UK company should actually move off the London Stock Exchange, and he's not the first one.
No.
We've seen a lot of delisting. What is going wrong?
Well, what's happened is you've actually seen companies looking at the London Exchange and saying, well, if my business is actually not actually all in London, do I need to be here? And it's not necessarily the cheapest market in the world. It's not the most liquid, deep market in the world. And since Brexit hasn't had necessarily the pull that you're seeing throughout the rest of Europe. So London hasn't really found its new position. What should it be trying to do? And therefore, what it should be trying to do is actually market itself to businesses, probably slightly smaller scale businesses, really to attract those in internationally. Those who don't want to be in America. Why don't they want to be in America? Well, prior to Trump and regulatory issues and tariffs and things like that, they don't want all the regulation that goes with American operations, whereas London will be much a lighter touch to it. Still regulated, but lighter touch. But you go to America, you have to have very strict rules, and the Russians found this because they found they want to try and float some of their companies in America, whereupon there were threats that some of their directors would go straight to prison. So be careful.
Now, AstraZeneca, as you were talking about there, it invested $50 million into a US operation, hasn't it?
Yep.
President Trump this morning must be waking up in America extremely pleased by that, because he's been saying all along that's the purpose of tariffs. The purpose is to get overseas companies to invest in America, to move their operations to America. Yep. So he must be very pleased. Yep. A sign that tariffs are working?
Well, the trouble is he's a rather strange character, because he's looking at one end of a tariff. It's all very well actually saying, well, what a tariff of goods coming in. What do the competition do? What do the other countries do? And the answer is, well, they'll react the same. Tariffs can actually not be a brake on an economy. Mind you, it can also break an economy. And so you actually got to make sure it's the right level. So the issue he's forced countries to do is let's do a deal. You know, I always love to think he's a great deal maker. Questionable. But nonetheless, that's his own brand. And so people like Britain have gone along sometimes sort of kowtowing in many ways towards him to say, please, can we do a deal? And others not. What it has done with, say, operations like NATO and other areas where people have lived off the support of the American economy and the American budgets, now actually say, well, you're going to have to look after yourselves now. And so Europe's going to have to spend much more time now saying, right, we've got to operate independently, we're still allies, we still get on well, we're still trade, but actually the imbalances have to change. And I've been a great critic of Trump, but actually in some of these areas, he's not wrong. The problem he hasn't worked out is tariff charges one way will come back and hit you the other way, but he hasn't had that bit yet.
We are days away from the latest Trump deadline, 1st of August. He says there's no extension after this. What is the mood on the markets with business, with investors at the moment?
Yeah, what they'll think is the fact he said it's 2 weeks, a bit like stopping a war with 24 hours. These dates are fairly fungible. And so basically what the markets have actually quite liked is whatever they think of the individual concerned, he's actually been making the economy much more dynamic. And what he's done is actually broken some of the complacency which we've had since, well, frankly, the end of the Second World War, to actually have, not to say a new order, but a new dynamic, to actually say that actually how you grow businesses internationally should not be the same as before, and America is not going to be supporting you, particularly Europe and other areas. But, remember, we're in a low, slower world of growth. Remember, the one thing we should hang on to, which is actually vital for both China and America, is they need each other. They're in a symbiotic relationship with each other. Who's the largest trading partner for China? America. Who's the largest owner of American debt most of the time? Is China. So they may moan at each other, but they need each other, and they'll do a deal.
Yeah, it was interesting what Scott Bessent has just been saying, that they're in a good place, the two countries, so we await further developments. Thank you so much for your time. Justin Urquhart-Stewart, business investor and commentator.